We are the ministry of the real truth, who strive continuously to bring you the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in regard to the biblical scriptures. We do this via the original ancient, very old Tab Asheret, or Aramaic, the Lishana Articus Hebrea, the sacred scribal language of God, which he spoke to Adam and Eve in the garden, and the original ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic New Testament manuscripts of the original ancient, very old Apostolic Orthodox Church of the East, founded by the disciples Adai or Thomas around the 1st century AD, who gave the high priest of this church texts of what Jesus, Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Messiah, said. They did according to what his disciples, who were around him 24/7, 365, for the 3.5 years of his ministry. These have been translated into the nearest English equivalent by Victor N. Alexander, a native-born Aramaic speaker filmmaker, graduate of the San Francisco Film Academy, who had rubbed shoulders with people in Hollywood, done a few productions there. Also his wife starred in Star Quest with Burt Ward from the 60s Batman, starring him and Adam West. This Victor N. Alexander hails from Mesopotamia, Syria, and he has over 20 years experience in translating those manuscripts. They have been verified to have never been tampered with, translated into any foreign language, later probably the Koine Greek, without the common translator's bias, prejudice, taking away adding own twist or flavour to the manuscript translations, etc. This is quite common with translators over the century. Today we are going to look at Yeshua Mashiach's, or Jesus the Messiah's, birth, date, place of birth, according to the original ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic book of Luke, and we're also going to look at the book of Revelations, because there's something in there that all should know, because there are many church leaders, pastors, reverends out there, evangelists, scholars and theologians, giving you the wrong translation of that particular book, which is very concerning. So we're going to look at Luke and Revelation. For Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, was born during the reign of Caesar Augustus in his 15th year of reign, supposedly. According to a book we found and read, the Roman Empire, from Augustus to Hadrian, and here it is here. It's edited and translated by Robert K. Shirk, Professor of Classics, State University of New York at Buffalo, brought to us by Cambridge University Press, etc. This is what we found online. Here's a series introduction. It's translated documents of Greece and Rome, so you can skip all this. And there's a contents page. Continued, quite extensive. Volume editor's introduction, I'm going to skip that. Abbreviations. And here is part 1, the Imperial Government in War and Peace. This book states that Caesar Augustus was made the very first Pontiff Maximus. What is Pontiff Maximus? That's like a pope, a bishop of a certain church, the Empirical State Church. Here we have his date of birth and his death, and he was imperator Caesar Augustus. Title Augustus is given this in January 1627 BC. Pontifex Maximus, 12 BC. Father of his country, 2 BC. Holder of the tribunican power, received it for the first time in 23 BC, and it was renewed annually or yearly on July 1st, thus 1 to 37. Consul for the 7th time in 27 BC, then in 26, 8, 25, 9, 24, 10, 23, 11, 5, 12 to 13, and he died in August 19 AD 14. And these are the consuls ordinary under Augustus, and they're all listed here. They'll be like the Senate. That's quite a lot of them. The standard work on the consular list for the empire is A. de Grassi, I Fasti Consolare del Impero Romano, Rome 1952, new edition forthcoming by W. Eck, in which the consuls, the consules suffecti will also be found. The suffect consulship, whereby the consuls ordinary held office for only the first few months of each year and were then replaced by another peer, became a regular institution. And here is the calendar entries for Augustus. Extracts from local Italian calendars in Latin. A. January 1327 BC, Fasti Praenestini, Edinburgh, Jones Documents, page 45, Italian 13.2, page 113. That a crown of oak leaves be placed above the door of the house of the Imperator Caesar Augustus was decreed by the Senate, because he restored the Republic to the Roman people, and so forth. Imperator Caesar was called Augustus in his own consulship for the 7th time, and Agrippa for the 3rd time, 27 BC. A festival was held in accordance with a decree of the Senate, because on this day Imperator Caesar Augustus, back from the overseas provinces, entered the city, and the altar of fortune who brings back was set up. On this day of fortune who brings back was dedicated, who brought Caesar back from the overseas provinces. Public prayer made to fortune who brings back. July 4, 13 BC, Fasti Amiterini, or Tanini. Festival was held in accordance with the decree of the Senate, because on this day the altar of Augustin peace in the Campus Martius was set up in the consulship of Tiberius Claudius, Nero, and P. Quintilius Varus, 13 BC. March 6, 12 BC. Festival was held in accordance with the decree of the Senate, because on this day Imperator Caesar Augustus was made Pontifex Maximus in the consulship of P. Sulpicius, Quirinius, and Gaius Vulgius Rufus, 12 BC. The Duoviri for this reason make sacrifice, and the people wear garlands and abstain from work. So it's like their Sabbath, right? They're like a day off every week or something like that. Festival was held in accordance with the decree of the Senate, because on this day Imperator Caesar Augustus, Pontifex Maximus, holding the tribunician power for the 21st time, 2 BC, consul for the 13th time, was called father of his country by the Senate and the Roman people. Sacrifice made in honour of the dead Lucius Caesar on August 20 AD 2. And a festival was held in accordance with the decree of the Senate, because on this day, June 26 AD 4, Imperator Caesar Augustus adopted as his son Tiberius Caesar in the consulship of Sextus Aelius Catus and Gaius Sentius Saturninus, 84. January 27 AD, the temple of Castor and Pollux was dedicated. September 17 AD 14, festival was held in accordance with the decree of the Senate, because on this day divine honours to the deified Augustus were decreed by the Senate in the consulship of Sextus Apuleius and Sextus Pompeius, AD 14. So he was made the first bishop or pope of the Empirical Roman Empire, and this is basically what led all the Caesars to their ruin when they started to deify themselves. The Senate started deifying them. Legal decision by Augustus and Agrippa and a governor's letter to Chaim 27 BC for the legal decision. Marble stele broken at the bottom, damaged on the right and left, decorated with a festoon of ivy at the top. Crimea in Asia on the Aeolian coast. The inscription is in three parts. A in Greek is the legal decision by Augustus and M. Agrippa, 27 BC. B in Latin is a letter of unknown date, but later than A, from the governor of Asia to the city of Crimea. C in Greek is a translation of the Latin letter of the governor. Okay, and it has here that in the Greek. Imperial Caesar, son of the god. Yeah, so that the Senate have declared him a god by decree, by law. Yeah, he was given that title. Imperator Caesar, son of the god, Augustus, and Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius. If there are any public or sacred places in the cities of each city of the province, and if there are or will be any dedication belonging to these places, nobody is to remove or buy them or take them as mortgage property or gift. Whatever has been taken away from those places or bought and given as a gift to whom may be in charge of the province is to see to it that these are restored to the public or sacred account of the city, and whatever may have been given as legal security, he is not to use this in his administration of justice. And then here it is in the Latin. Imperator Caesar, son of God. Yeah. So that's his title given to him by the Senate. And there's more information here. And you got some more information on him refusing freedom to Samos soon after 27 BC, and so forth. Senatorial and imperial provinces, reign of Augustus. Strabo 17,325, etc., etc. Okay, this is all important information. The word Augustus is transliterated here. Since it is usually translated as Sebastos, there's got some guy called Reynolds up here translating this, believes it was added here by someone at Aphrodisias sometime after the document had been received or had become known in Aphrodisias. If true, it might mean that the document had been issued prior to 27 BC, then Octavian received the title Augustus. But G.W. Barsock argues for a date of 22 to 19 BC in Badian, etc., etc. When the imperial secretariat in Rome received liberally petitions addressed to the emperor, the answer was usually written below. For the procedure, see Miller, blah blah blah. Okay. So just want to go through all that to verify to you that Caesar Augustus was given the title as a gift by the Senate to be called, to be deified, to be called the Son of God, a Son of God, descended from the gods. He was a god, and so forth. So people had to worship him as a god. Statues, etc., were put around of his face, and then members of the Senate or officials would say, hey, you have to pay homage to him, and if you didn't, well, that was your end. You got punished for that. Okay, and there's more information here on him. And it leads up to his death and the adopted son takes over, Tiberius. But Tiberius refused the decree by the Senate that he should be deified, that he should be called a Son of God, the Messiah, Saviour, etc. Yes, he had adopted Tiberius as a son. A festival was held in accordance with a decree of the Senate, because on this day divine honour was given Augustus Caesar. He was declared deified as a God, Son of God, Saviour, Redeemer, etc. Tiberius refused when Caesar Augustus eventually died, age 76. His adopted son Tiberius became he became the Imperator. Caesar Tiberius. He was born 14 AD, died 37 AD. Title: Tiberius Caesar Augustus. Later on, Tiberius refused the divine honours, or those decrees of the Senate, of which Augustus was given. He didn't want those kind of honours to be deified as a god, etc. And he stated, quote, I myself am content with more moderate honour as befit men, unquote. Page 57, you have to look at page 57, 58 of this particular book. So we're going to jump there, try to jump to there, to verify that. Here it is here. 31. Letter of Tiberius refusing divine honours, AD 15. Stone stele Gotheion and Laconia. It's Greek. Maybe that's what it was in Greek. Letter of Tiberius. Tiberius Caesar, son of the god Augustus Pontifex Maximus, holding the tribunician power for the 16th time, 1815, to the Galilean Air Force and the city. Greetings. When he was sent by you to me and my mother as an envoy, Decimus Tyrannus Nicanor delivered your letter to me, to which had been attached the items voted in law or decree by you, to show your piety for my father and your esteem for us. For these things I praise you and believe it fitting that in general all men, and in particular your city, should hold in reserve, because of the great size of the benefits of my father to all the world. Caesar Augustus. The honours that are appropriate for gods. I myself am content with more moderate honours as befit men. My mother will give you her answer, and she learns from you what decision you have made about honours for her. Because later on, Tiberius, who had something wrong with his face, we believe maybe because of the mass orgies and stuff like that, he might have got syphilis or something like that. He had a pox on his face. The people whispered behind his back and nicknamed him the Ugly Emperor. Apparently he steps down, and he realizes about Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, that he is actually for real. So he starts to embrace it, and guess the Romans didn't like it, and so forth. It's about as far as we remember on that. And then try to come back apparently, but someone else has taken over, and all this sort of stuff. We'd have to verify that as the fact of providing that information if we find it. Okay, so he refused that decree by the Senate to be held as a god. So where are we going with this? Well, we are looking at the Gospel of Luke from the original ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic that Jesus and the disciples spoke, translated into English, the nearest English equivalent, by native-born Aramaic speaking translator filmmaker Victor N. Alexander from Mesopotamia, Syria. And it reads about his birth, etc., to Mary, and all that went on after that. Okay, we're looking at Luke 2, where it reads, it happened in those days, and the order came from Augustus Caesar, or the Imperator Augustus, that a census of all his subject people to be made, all those people under him, all the Romans, etc., and probably the citizens as well in that particular area. This was the first census during the governorship of Quirinius in Syria. And all people, and here's a footnote indication there. We'll have a look at the footnote. All humans. So that's all people. All the people. From Syria to Rome. It happened in those days, and the order came from Augustus Caesar, that a census of all subject people be made. This was the first census during the governorship of Quirinius in Syria. Remember we read that extract where Quirinius, etc., were involved in this deifying of Augustus Caesar by the Senate. And all people, all beings, went to register in their own towns. There went up also Joseph from Nazareth, town of Galilee, to Judah, the town of David, which is called Bethlehem, since he was from the house of David, and from the family of David, together with Mary, his betrothed wife, his betrothed wife to be, who was with child, so that he would register there. It happened as they were there, the days of childbirth arrived. Okay, so Jesus is born, etc. It continues the story. Okay, you might be familiar with that particular chapter. Okay, so later on in the book of Revelations, we came across this, Revelation chapter 13:1. You might be familiar with it because 13:18 is going on about the having a brain, having intelligence, and recognizing the mark of the beast or the sign of the beast, etc., etc. Revelation chapter 13:1 to 18. John the Revelator, who had these visions directly from the heavens, while on the island of Patmos, wrote, and the dragon, okay, that's symbolic for the devil, Satan, stood on the sand of the sea. So what he's doing is he's standing on this particular land, okay, sand of the sea. Okay, that's where all the sea is symbolic for people, right? Masses and masses of people. And John saw that demon, and his footmark indication here. So have a look at that. Footnotes. 13:1. Literal Aramaic idiom or expression, inhumane creature or anti-man. Rising out of the sea amongst the people, that has 10 horns and 7 kingdoms. This is to do with the 10 horns and 7 heads. This is to do with the kingdom states that were set up. They were set up in that time, right? And on its heads the names of blasphemies. Yeah, blasphemies is just utter nonsense, talking a load of rubbish. And the demon that John saw resembled a tiger, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth were like the mouth of lions, and dragon gave him his power. The devil gave him his power and his throne and great authority. So it probably is speaking about Alexander the Great, ancient Greece, etc., etc., all those who came before it, who had the same sort of power, possibly. And one of its heads, as though cut and dying, okay, this state, right? This country. One of its heads, as though cut and dying, and from under its own death it pulled through, and the whole world was enthralled in the wake of that demon, or anti-man. So basically what we believe it's saying here, according to the Roman Empire, Augustus the Hadrian, is that this Augustus, Caesar, was called the father of his country because he restored the republic. He restored Rome back to a republic. So something happened to it before and it was nearly lost, and he restored it back to its republic, so they called him the father of his country. And then they gave him that decree, that title, where he was said to be deified, a son of God, or son of God, saviour, redeemer, etc. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. So the devil gave him his power and his throne and his great authority. Okay. And one of its heads is though cut and dying, and from under its own death it pulled through, and the whole world was enthralled in the wake of that demon. Yeah, they were amazed at this being because he restored the republic. They thought he was great. And they worshipped the dragon, with actually worshipping the devil, for the following reason: since it gave authority to that demon, and who could do battle with him? Yeah, who could defeat Rome, fight Rome and defeat it? They were just too powerful, too awesome, right? Military wise. Yeah, a lot of people rebelled against them and held them back, stopped them from conquering them or something like that. Like look at the Masada, etc. These Jews that threw rocks and stuff at them, kept them at bay for a while, and then they finally overcame them, overpowered them, and probably made them pay the price for it. Okay, so this particular being that was put into authority, okay, was given a mouth to utter abominations. And there's a footnote indication there. Literal Aramaic idiom or expression, nonsense. Okay, and here is the key. It was during the ministry of Jesus. Okay, so you would have to go back to this book, the Roman Empire, Augustus to Hadrian, and look at that, and look at the dates when Christ was born, and he was living in the reign, probably the 15th year of the reign of Augustus Caesar. So all this was going on during his days of ministries. All this blasphemy, saying that the Senate decreeing the Caesar, Augustus at that time, the Son of God, the God, deified, etc., etc. That's the blasphemy. That's the utter nonsense happening during the ministry of Jesus. Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Messiah. Somewhere in the scriptures, we believe Christ said, you know that the Antichrist is coming. In fact, he's already here. Okay, you got to look at the word Antichrist. Just so people get a bit confused. It does have similar meaning, but this is the difference. Okay, you have Antichrist, okay, which is Antichrist as well. In the scriptures it says, those who rejected the Christ, those who don't believe, refuse to believe, they're all deemed as Antichrist, because they're of the world, they don't believe in the Christ, etc., etc. They rejected him. Okay, but then you have this one. Okay, not very often that they separate it, but it comes out like this: Antichrist. So there's the difference there. Okay, you could also have it as Ante. Let's just use the Greek here. Okay, see that? Two separate words. We'll put a mistake there. Got these keyboards, you can hardly see the letters. Okay, so yeah, that's two different ways of writing it. Ante, we believe in the Greek, is another, a replacement, if you like, a counterfeit. Counterfeit? Get this, a fake Christ, right? Or God, Saviour, Redeemer, etc. Okay, so understand that. That's what this Emperor Augustus was. He was a replacement, a counterfeit, a fake Christ or God, Saviour, Redeemer, etc. Because remember, he was declared through a decree or law passed by the Senate of Rome to be a god, to be deified, a god, son of God, etc., etc. So it's talking about him. Okay, it's not a futuristic one. This is the first, one of the first Antichrists. Okay, everybody worshipped the dragon. Well, this is who's behind it, right? Since it gave authority to that demon or that man-hater, and who could do battle with him. And he was given a mouth to utter abominations or blasphemies or nonsense and blasphemies, and he was given authority to do so for 42 months. Okay. Here is a footnote indication. It should tell you down the bottom. Let me have a look. Okay, here it is here. 13.5 literal Aramaic idiomatic expression or expression. Nonsense during the ministry of Jesus. Just go back and have a look at it again. This is, he talked a load of rubbish for 42 months and did whatever he did. And he opened his mouth to blaspheme or talk nonsense against Allah in the Aramaic, or God in English, to blaspheme against his name and his abode, the kingdom of heaven, and against those who dwell in heaven. So he basically was talking rubbish, talking nonsense, saying he was a god. Well, it was declared by the Senate that he was a god, but he accepted it. Okay, he took it on board. He took that title on board, and he acted as if he was the son of God, the son of the gods, etc., etc. So, through the Senate, all the people basically had to bow down to this particular Caesar, statues of him, images of him, whatever that was around, or else you were in big trouble. And this guy was given authority over all generations and nations and tongues and peoples. Footnote indication. Probably says motherlands. Yeah, 13.7 literal Aramaic idiom, motherlands, other nations, right? So he would invade and conquer and so forth and bring them under Empirical Rome, okay, as his subjects, and then they'd be under that particular religion if they had one at that time, the Empirical Roman Church, right? Catholic Church. So they must have, if he becomes the Pontifex Maximus or the first bishop or first pope. It wasn't Peter. It wasn't Peter, one of the disciples, as Roman Catholics love to claim that he was their first bishop, or this sort of rubbish. It's untrue. Okay, he went to Rome, but he was martyred. He was crucified. He requested to be crucified upside down because he didn't want to go the upright way, or the right way up, because he felt that he wasn't humble enough to be crucified the same way as his Lord, his Master, Messiah, Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Christ. So he opens this particular Caesar opens his mouth to blaspheme against God, blaspheme against his name and his abode, his dwelling, right, kingdom of heaven, and against those who dwell in heaven. Yeah. So by that he's talking a whole lot of rubbish, that he's the God, he's the son of the God and all this sort of stuff. And he was given authority over all generations and nations and tongues and peoples, and he was given authority to do battle with the saints and to defeat them. So anyone that believed in Yeshua Mashiach or Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Messiah, he would put them to death. He'd be victorious over them. Okay, let's have a look at that. It's 7 in the footnotes. Okay, motherlands, etc. Yeah, literal Aramaic idiom, be victorious over. So he would round him up and kill him, right? Try in an effort to try and squish that belief, right? All those people that believed in Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, and all worshipped him. All of them who dwelled on earth. Okay, that'd be Syria, Rome, and wherever else they conquered. Those whose name is not written in the book of life of the Lamb who was sacrificed from the foundations of the universe. Yeah, so in heaven there's many books, right? And if your name's not there, well, you're off to the other place, aren't you? Because you're not of God, etc., etc. So you're not in the book of life, eternal book of life, right? Your name's not there, not found there. Which was from the foundations of the universe. From the very beginning. Beginning of the beginnings, right? And here it says, if a human being has ears, then listen. If a human being takes captives, by captivity he is taken to just basic common sense, right? Logic and common sense. If you do something to somebody else, so then consequences come along. Karma bites a big chunk of your bottom, and it's payback time, okay, for those wrongs. Okay, and then John the Revelator sees another demon, an anti-man, man-hater that rose from the earth, and he had two horns resembling those of a ram. So this is someone who's acting all religious, right? He looks all holy, etc., but he's not. And he speaks as a dragon. Actually, behind it all, it's a load of nonsense, blasphemies. It's all of the devil. And all the powers, the authorities of that first demon, he performed before them, and he made the world, those that they conquered, those that were known, right, in those days, to dwell in it, so that they would worship that first demon, the one who became healed from under its own death, the Republic. Okay, those Caesars, that's what it's talking about. And he performed grandiose signs where even fire fell from the sky over the earth before humanity. So let's have a look at those. Okay, 13:8, literal Aramaic idiom, cut up or consecrated. That's the sacrifice. That's talking about Christ dying on the cross, being scourged, etc., etc. Because those cat o' nine tails or whatever they use, cut deep, right? They teared flesh, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so 13:10. Okay, it's basically to do with that expression there, which resulted in consequences. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression for this occurs. Okay, so 13:11. And John saw another demon, or man-hater, anti-man, a carnivorous creature. It's an Aramaic idiomatic figure of speech, and it had great authority. And where are we? 13:12. And all the powers of that first demon he performed before them, and he made the world, and those who dwell on it, etc., etc., worship that first demon. Okay. That authority. Okay. It suffered from under its own death. It nearly died. Okay. And it's talking about Caesar Augustus, how he saved Rome and made it, restored it to a republic. That's what it's talking about. And he performs grandiose signs. 13:1. 13. Boisterous signs. See? It doesn't necessarily mean that actual fire come out of heaven and all this sort of stuff. He just made boisterous signs where even fire fell from the sky over the earth before humanity. Well, he could possibly have that power of the devil, that sort of thing could happen. Okay, but here it says boisterous. He performed grandiose signs or boisterous signs where even fire fell from the sky over the earth, etc., etc. And he misleads those who dwell on earth. He was this boisterous. And he performed boisterous signs where even fire fell from the sky over the earth before humanity. Here it says literal Aramaic idiom, from below. It's kind of a weird Eastern expression, right? It probably came up from the earth. That's what it's talking about, right? From below. 13. I've got to check that one out. 13. Yeah, even fire fell. So basically it came from below. So it came from the bowels of the earth or something. He did something there. Okay. Everybody thought, wow, amazing. He's got this power, etc. And he misleads those who dwell on earth to be slaves of the image of that demon, the one who has been struck by the sword and had lived. That's the Caesar and the Republic. He puts images around everywhere, and these senators, those in authority, given that authority by the Romans, enforced that everybody worshipped that image, the image of Caesar Augustus, or else you'd be in trouble if you didn't. And that's why a lot of Christians were put to the sword, etc., because they refused to do that. And it was given to him to impart a spirit to the image of that demon, and to command that all those who do not worship the image of that demon be killed. There you go. So he didn't bow down to it, as a lot of them did, even a lot of Christians at that time did. You were killed. Okay, it was a law. Okay. Impart a spirit to the image. It's a living being, to this handmade image, right? Or likeness. Okay. And he enslaved them all, the small and the famous, and the rich and the poor, and the children of the free and the slaves, whereas to be given a mark on their right hands or between their eyes. See, like, we found out that, what's his name? Cain didn't actually receive a mark. It indicates a sign that everyone would recognize, and they wouldn't touch him, they wouldn't kill him for him killing Abel. Sorry. Okay, so let's have a look at that, what that footnote indication is. Literal Aramaic. Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, and he enslaved all the small and the famous, like celebrities, all those that were renowned, all those that were, recognised as, wow, he's a great guy, wow, he's got power, authority, all that sort of stuff, etc., etc., part of the Roman Empire or other parts of the Roman Empire. Okay, so here, so everybody from the free, the slave, the great, the poor, the homeless, everybody had to worship this image in the likeness of Caesar Augustus, or else he'd get in big trouble, get put to the sword, etc., punished for it, not doing it, or refusing to. Okay, so literal Aramaic idiom, authorization, certification, stamp, seal, or commission. Okay, so there you were given some sort of mark or sign on your right hand or between their eyes. It's not literal, it's symbolic. Okay? You'd probably walk around and go, hey, Caesar Augustus, or something like that. It was something that they recognised. It was something that you had to produce, or you had to do, right, to verify that you are under that authorization, that you're going to, you recognise that particular image as the image of Augustus, etc., and you do honours to it. Okay, it's all in the head. Yeah, it's all in the head. So you probably come under this particular Empirical Roman Church, okay, because this Caesar Augustus was ordained, was deified. He became the first Pontifex Maximus, or Bishop or Pope of Rome, okay, of this particular church. He was the head of that church as well. Okay, he was the authority. Okay, so it's in your right hands or between your eyes, your mind. Okay, it's in the centre there. What do they call that thing? Prefrontal lobe. So it's in your mind. It's all there, right? Yeah, so you came under that authority to worship that Caesar Augustus as a deified son of God, etc. So that no one could sell or buy except he who has the mark or that sign of that demon or the number of his name. Yeah? So you're of the devil, you're worshipping a human being as a god, deified God, son of God, etc., etc., during the ministry of Jesus, okay, in that era. Here then is wisdom. Whoever has a mind, okay, a brain, or intelligence, should count the number of that demon, for it is the number of a human being, and his number is 666. So it's to do with the Caesar. It's not this later Obama, Bush, Donald Trump, Elvis Presley, Prince, or anything like that. If you hear that, it's all rubbish. Okay? It's a latter modern, Americanized modern English versions. The theologians, scholars, etc., etc., who've translated it completely wrong, because they probably have a hidden motive. Well, we see they have a hidden motive or agenda to push their Western theology, their Western terminology. They want to be number one, so they totally ignored or poo-poo the original Eastern theology and terminology in favour of theirs. A particular mother church wants to be number one, and this is apparent in these scriptures, okay, and more. And its history going across different lands, motherlands, and killing off people that wouldn't submit to it. You had the Spanish Inquisition, the Roman Inquisition, etc., Roman Catholic Inquisition, where they forced these people to give up their belief system and come under theirs. It was either do it or you die, you pay the penalty. Okay? And then to wipe out the competition, i.e. the Christian, the Jesus movement, they come up with, we'll throw them into the arena, and they can fight lions, or we'll crucify them and light them up as candles, or this sort of stuff, according to the Fox's Book of Martyrs. If you get a chance to read that, because it's like basically the history of those martyrs throughout the centuries. So there it is there for you people. We, the Ministry of the Real Truth, have brought it to you. Okay? And this is what the real scriptures in the original ancient Galilean-Aramaic that Jesus and his disciples spoke, hidden and preserved from these Roman Caesars, Emperor Constantine, for over 2,000 years. They're intact, they were never messed with, never tampered with, and never translated, and possibly at a later date they're translated into the Koine Greek. So they had no reason, no need to translate it into any other language, because it was exclusively for them, the high priest, to read through their liturgy to their people who attended their church or their mass, who spoke and understood the same language that was being spoken to them, right? So these apostolic church, this apostolic church of the East, due to a dispute between Nestorius and Cyril of Rome, were labelled heretics, etc., etc., and they were persecuted throughout the centuries. They had their good eras, and then change of power, and then they would get crap. They'd be hassled, murdered, martyred, etc. So they flee with their texts. They basically survived through the centuries, possibly 18th century of persecution, hatred, etc. Erroneously called Nestorians, okay, because the argument started between Nestorius and Cyril, because Nestorius jumped up and talked about the hypostasis, that Christ was of two substances, both God and man. And Cyril wanted to be the bishop of all bishops. Didn't like that, because he saw that Nestorius would be, right? So he went all out and lied, and then labelled him a heretic, which the Roman Catholic Church, etc., adopted, and then they were persecuted over the centuries by the Roman Catholic Church, Genghis Khan, the Mongols, Tamerlane, ISIS, the Kurds, etc., etc. So there it is. We hope this opens your eyes to the real truth about the scriptures and what the original, ancient, very old Galilean-Aramaic scriptures, manuscripts, original manuscripts actually say, okay, compared to your Americanized modern English Bible translations, be it NIV, RSV, ESV, King James, etc. These would be the most accurate, the Galilean-Aramaic, because they haven't been tampered with. They're written as they were originally written, and not messed around with, tampered, played around with. They're intact, etc., etc. So nothing there has been changed. We have information through Victor N. Alexander's translation project that this was fact. Okay, we can bring that to you if you are doubtful and need proof. Okay, so we are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and thank you for taking the time to watch this, our latest video created and uploaded. We hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments below the video, and we'll get back to you on those when we can, as soon as we can. And then go share this eye-opening video with all your family, friends and others who believe the second version, the mistranslation, and they're going out there and they're teaching people, oh, this is what it says according to our Bible, our NIV, our KJV, etc., and this is the truth, when they're actually lying to the people. For the people need the real truth of what the scriptures really say. We have to stop telling them all these lies, okay, from these new modern versions, Americanized modern English versions, which are all coming from this one mother church.